Local man decides to trade off his Flicker Strike stuff and try out the Tornado Shot Deadeye MF build. He's got the currency, so you have the cojones. Find out at 6 seconds from now. Alright, so I saw in a couple comments that people were asking, can you do a Magic Find build? And I'm assuming they mean this one that I'm about to switch to, or at least one variation of it, where the goal is to take things like Ventnor's Gambles, Great Wolf Amulet, and a bunch of quantity and quality stuff, and kind of pump that up so high with a high enough damage character that you can clear a map, get a lot more uniques to drop. And for this strategy, and the one people are using for it most, you can run it on something like Cemetery, and go for Brothers Stash and Brothers Gift Cards rather, and try and get some big drops. You know, a Headhunter, even a Mage Blood, or some T1 or T0 uniques, like Aegis or a Natural Instinct, stuff like that. At first, I wasn't gonna do this because I don't think it is my playstyle that much. It doesn't seem too exciting to me, just simply because there's enough gambling in this game and other ways to gamble for cheaper and for the setup that this kind of takes, that I don't need an extra layer of gambling when I play Path of Exile. But since it is so popular, I figured I would do it, kind of document my way through it. We could walk through it together. I could tell you the cool things about it, the negative things about it, and all that as we go. So I am going to go through all the footage. I already recorded everything. This is the next day. By the time I was done, it was so late, I was like, I'm going to do this in the morning. So hopefully this video will be out tonight, and you guys can get some information on if this is for you or not. But without further ado, let's get into it. Now I want to specify that I decided to go to the Tornado Shot as my attack skill. You can go Lightning Arrow. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's more popular. I wanted to go Tornado Shot because I heard because of the Crucible passive trees, you can get a 1700 physical DPS bow this league. And I was like, sounds pretty sweet. It's probably going to be a little expensive, but how crazy can it get? But anyways, yeah, so that is the one we're going to go with. Also, I did not theory craft this myself. I looked up solid amounts of videos. There is one POB that I followed pretty closely for this. I will put his and his channel name in the description to give him credit. He will say some stuff about this build that I won't say. So if you want, you know, a little bit more information, be sure to head over to his channel. Check out his video. It's pretty good. Okay. So the first thing we had to do was sell off all of our Flicker Strike gear, take all the gems out, used Awaken PoE trade to see what they were going for on the market, and then price them a little aggressively because it was a lot of stuff to sell, and I do not have more than one character. That is how I'm able to make these characters over and over, as I sell the previous character's equipment and fund it for the next character. So the longer I have no equipment, I really can't play the game. Plus I want to get this video out there, so I priced stuff pretty aggressively, got undercut on a bunch of stuff, and sold it for a little bit less than what it's really worth. But in the end, we got it done. While all of that was being sold and I was waiting for buyers, I used a bunch of Orbs of Regret, had to buy a handful of them also to respec my entire tree. And then the unfortunate, I'm gonna have to sell it. Really don't want to sell this. It's for the content. It's for the content. You could do this. For the content. The pain. Now that everything big that I wanted to trade was up, I wanted to start getting the gear, so I started with, of course, the weapon. So I went to PoE trade, typed in bow. I want a spine bow. I wanted a minimum of 1700 physical DPS, and this was the first time I was like, oh my god, what did I just get myself into? They started at a friggin' mirror. So I started doing math in my head, and I was thinking, well, the Mage Blood sells, if everything else sells, if some older stuff sells, mirrors 290, divines, but It wouldn't have been smart. I could have tanked this whole project if I would have spent all my currency and then realized other stuff was expensive. So what I decided to do was go with a cheaper, in quotations mark, option that didn't do as much physical damage, still had the additional arrows, fires additional 2 projectiles, attack speed, some other good mods. The only problem was it did not have the right colors. So I bought a bunch of chromatic orbs and went to the bench and did at least 2 sockets and rolled it, or at least 2 red sockets, and rolled it until I got 3 red sockets, 2 blue, and a green. And it took a decent amount of time. I think it cost like 2 or 3 divine total in chromatic orbs to get it, which is still kind of expensive, but not nearly as expensive as it would have been if I would have just waited for a bow with those colors to come in my price range. I would have lost way too much time. It probably wouldn't have been worth it. So I finally get the colors that I want, and in my typical fashion, I don't celebrate, I just take it in with grace. So I start buying some other staples of the build. I get incredibly lucky and get a amazingly rolled Ventnor's Gamble for 28 divines. And then I know I'm never going to see that deal again. So I go straight to Calandria Ring, which will make a copy of the Ventnor's, and realize immediately the Calandria Ring, because of this build, has also skyrocketed in price. So I get the Calandra's Ring and suck it up, and then I get the Wolfie Amulet and get ready to anoint that, and then it finally happens. Someone wants to buy my Mage Blood. Now, albeit for a lot less than what I wanted originally, because if you remember, I put it for 250, but I'm running out of currency, and I don't know what to do, so I just give someone a hell of a deal on it. It still takes probably like 30-40 minutes to sell. And I think I handled it pretty well. Why, God, why? I just want to go fast, run, and blow stuff up. You know, just zoom, 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 and boom, boom. You know?
That's an old reference.
So now that we have all the currency from the Mage Blood, I finally have enough to finish the build. So I go and get the headhunter. I buy the helm, the armor, the boots, the gloves, all of that stuff. That'll all be in the POB. You can see that, and near the end, I'll talk a little bit more about why you want certain things, why I had to kind of downgrade a couple things because of how expensive that it got, and all of that. But then we move on to the buying of the gems, which is probably the most boring part. I'm going to try and make this short too. Now, the one major hiccup I ran into with buying the gems is that the builds that we're looking at used level 5 awakened enlightened gems. And as you can see here, they have always been this expensive. I just forgot. So that isn't going to happen. So I went 1 level lower, bought one, and decided to use a small cluster jewel that you could see in the POB that adds 3 mana reservations nodes, 6% apiece plus the 35% effect. So 8%, so 8, 16, 24%. So I figured that would more than make up for it. So once everything was said and done and I got everything, I had to make a couple downgrades. I didn't have spell suppression on my helmet or my armor, even though they were both pretty expensive and pretty nice. I'm not at 100%, so it's a little squishier, but in general, this build is very squishy, especially once you start running higher tier maps. Now, the very first thing I did is I just ran a strand map because I did not want to waste any of my cemetery maps. People don't know, a lot of people do this strategy on cemetery because it has a chance to drop the 5 Divine Brothers gift card and also the 5 Exile Brothers stash card. I didn't want to use those yet. So I ran it. It felt okay. You learn very quickly that this thing cannot do essences, and if it can, it's with that much higher damage bow. The juicier ones just take way too long to kill, and they all one-shot you. Especially because this build is very dependent on the headhunter buffs you get. Okay, it's very dependent on your defense being through the headhunter, the prognosis flask, and all that stuff that I didn't cover in this video. But I will be doing a kind of follow-up end game build video explaining most of the decisions I did. Not to mention, I have a tips video coming out probably tomorrow afternoon, and then I'm either streaming all during the night with this build, so we could do another follow-up video on this, go more in depth on how it works and why it works and why people are doing it and why it is so popular right now. So after I ran the strand maps and all that, I did do a couple juice cemetery maps. I used the sextants that you need to use. I used, the scarabs for it. I only did about 5-10 maps, probably like 7 or 8 maps. I didn't find anything, but I was just kind of getting the hang of it. You do die a lot, and there will be maps where you are down to 1 or 2 portals and you start kind of sweating it. Okay, there's like 4 strong boxes left and you're on your last portal, and it gets kind of nerve-wracking. And considering the amount of money you have to spend on both the build and per map and the strategy that I'm going to show you in the next day or two, it is incredibly nerve-wracking. And some people can like that, but sometimes it can be a huge letdown, because if you die before you finish the map, it's a pretty awful feeling, because you just wasted all that currency. Now, I didn't rip an entire map in the handful I tried, but I came pretty damn close a couple times, so there is that. Alright, so that leaves us with the main question. Should you even attempt to try this build? And I feel like for 99% of people, I answered that within the first 5 minutes of this video. And that is once you see how extremely expensive it is. And if you see the next videos or my live stream, you are going to see it gets worse than that, because it is a huge investment we have to put in your maps to really take advantage of this. Okay? Now, that being said, if you are one of the few people that have, 400 or 500 divines to spend, and you just want the new hotness, and you want a new way to play rather than getting steady currency over the span of strategy, you are going for that one big score, that mage blood, that headhunter, that multiple brothers gifts. Okay, I can see that being good, but to be honest, I knew going into this it won't be my playstyle. Like I said, I'm going to stream it. I'm going to do another video or 2 on this to really show the strategy. But for now, I just thought it was important to show just the pain it is and how expensive it is just to get a above average build. Because again, you saw, I didn't even get the strongest bow. I think my bow was like 900 physical DPS, and the top people that are using the 2 mirror bows are doing almost twice that, and just straight physical damage alone. I did some downgrades on the gloves. They don't have both implicits that I need, and just little things like that. And I still spent, if it's not over, it's pretty damn close to 400 divines. And I thought my Flicker Strike build was expensive, and it was like the best gear, or most of the best gear. And I just bought a build that's maybe like 80% there and had like a very short amount of currency left. I think I ended up with like 20 divines left out of the 425 that I probably spent to get this. So should you play this build? God, no. Like, unless people that are watching this video probably don't have that amount of currency, or they probably wouldn't be watching this. They already know this strategy. They've seen much more popular content creators do it. They know it's very expensive. They didn't learn anything from this. They already have their mind made up. Okay, but I'm just warning you, if you do play this, it is going to feel terrible if you do not have the currency to back it up. For example, Pro Genesis is huge on this because you need the tankiness. Headhunter is huge for the the tornado shot build side of it, because it's where a lot of your defense and your damage comes from, especially if you're like me and you don't have the super overpowered couple mirror bow. Now, I know in the comments people are probably going to say, yeah, the lightning arrow build is better, and yeah, it probably is. It's probably more popular because of that. I know, or I'm pretty sure they did the Val Lightning Arrow gem this league, so it kind of got more attention as far as the skill is concerned. So yeah, it probably is decently better. Maybe I should have done that, but I really wanted to do a tornado shot build, because believe it or not, as popular as they were in the Sanctum League and stuff like that, I never made one. I just haven't done very many ranged builds in my long time in PoE, and I just wanted to try something a little different, try something a little less popular. And plus, I kind of wanted to use Headhunter. A lot of the Valero builds use other belts, and I like Headhunter, and I haven't been able to use it in something in a long time, because the builds I like to play don't really get too much advantage from Headhunter. They're more elemental damage, not so much physical damage. So that's gonna pretty much wrap it up. Any questions or comments, leave it down below. And again, there's a new tips video coming out very soon, and then I am going to stream at least once, one night, either tomorrow night or all day the next day. Really cement in this build, get a little better, get some good content going on using the sextants and the scarabs. Sextant scarabs are going to be in the next tips video, so I'm going to get that out first. So if you watch that video, you aren't going to be too lost when you see what I do when I stream. Okay, so yeah, so stay tuned for that, and thanks everyone for the support. Everything's been great. I'm really driven right now because of all the nice comments and the fact that people are actually watching and I'm actually helping people. So until the next time, we will see you.